Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn, and on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned and share them with us to learn from as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and get 10 sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. It's Jason A. Osborn on LinkedIn, and that will be in the show notes below as well. But on today's show, our guest is Rene Johnson. She is the owner of the Power Zone Coaching, empowering small to medium-sized business owners and their executive teams to accelerate growth, eliminate profit leaks, and lead with purpose. So welcome to the show today, Rene. And I want to start off by asking a question that I always ask. If you were able to somehow have a time machine to go back to when you either started this business or maybe another business that you've had in the past, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you'd give your younger self just starting off in business?
Oh, I love that question. Good morning, Jason. My piece of advice, I haven't heard that question before, would probably be building trust, in the sense of make sure that I am in my younger self voice is to trust in my future wisdom, if I could say it that way. Because one
Mm,
of the things that I've learned over time is that in doing this business now 21 years, is that this is not only my business, but it's my purpose. And so building the trust in myself that this is what I'm meant to do, and take my passions, my experience that I continue to grow and develop, but trust that there will be ways and methods to do that. It may not always look exactly what I thought it was going to be, but to be open to those opportunities and trust in the overall purpose that I have and direction that I'm taking my life and serving other people, and to let it manifest. Sometimes there it doesn't look like there's an out or a way, and very often we'll get into the mode of building that through my meditations and different exercises, having conversations with other people, bringing the energy level up, like people like yourself, and rekindling that trust. There was periods early in the business that there was doubt, and it would take me maybe shifting the wrong decision or jumping ship too soon or partnering with people that weren't the right fit. And through the course of developing myself as I grew the business, I would say definitely to practice leaning in and trusting my inner higher self, or what I call your power zone.
yeah, that's amazing. So what do you think is the biggest reason why people don't lean into trusting maybe their gut or intuition, whether that's just starting off in business or whether they're well established? What have you found to be some of those biggest challenges?
Uh, I would say the busyness of business would be one of them, and what their role is in the business. So, as you mentioned, I empower small business owners and their executives. And very often, what I find is they get into the busyness of the day, into
Mm,
the invoices, the meetings, the challenges, and now we are reacting to the environment around, especially if we haven't developed that and created in what I call is profitable leadership. And what I find that takes away the trust is that myth of being busy, right? Being busy means that you're productive. Being busy means you're successful. Busy means you have great worth and you're working on the right things. And it's not true. And so I help the leaders shift from busy to impact. And when they are impactful, then they reclaim their time. When you reclaim your time, you've shifted your identity of worth. Okay. So when you're shifting your identity of worth, you have more trust in yourself that this is where my greatest fulfillment is in serving my business, serving my employees, serving the customers. And that is in my number one profit leak that we work to help our clients overcome, is to identify where we're wasting our time in the sense of where you're most impactful as a leader. I would say the second one, if I could just kind of move through my three
yeah, yeah.
power leaks, Jason, is then resources. So you'd be surprised how many companies, clients from small to multi-million dollar do not understand how to use their resources or identify shaping their decisions with the numbers that their revenue and resources will actually speak to them. And so one thing that will take them away from trusting they're going in the right direction so they can take the necessary risks to grow their company is doubting their decisions. So we take them from doubting their decisions into confidence, right? And when we do that, then they risk taking feels strategic. Risk taking
Mm.
moves into strategic because the numbers will tell the story and the direction of your leadership and how well it's serving your company. And so understanding your resources, revenue, and not wasting them, but move them up to that impactful spot is a huge part of being a profitable leader. And the third area that we focus in is helping them stop wasting their strengths and talents and that of their teams, and no matter the size of team. And so that is really around building the trust in their leadership voice. So empowered leadership is understanding your leadership voice, your why. Huge, huge area that when I watch leaders start going squirrel, rabbit, balloon, I'm like, okay, you're not aligned
Yeah.
with your why. And that is a strategic, profitable move. And when you are aligned with your why, then you can grow your capacity as a leader and being an empowered leader. And that's where you're developing your people. That's where you're lifting them in their strengths. You're not stuck in micromanagement. You're not doing it yourself because you think you have to, or you're not held hostage because you don't know how to hire right or grow people or even let people go. And so you're now elevating at the highest level. Well, in order to do that, that requires trust that you're okay as a leader. Your greatest level is to move into empowered leadership is to honor your strengths as a leader. So you move from burnout to capacity. So that burnout to capacity to lead. So your role is, yes, you got to drop in, understand what they're doing, but your greatest impact is not that you're higher than them. Your greatest impact is that you're shining that lighthouse. Here's the direction we're going, and I've built my bench to serve you. And I am there in my spirit through the systems, through the communications, through the inspiration. And moving into that is probably one of the greatest power leaks that we deal with because you've got to move away from fear into letting go of responsibility and trusting that they're going to create the outcome that you think you can and allow them to trust to develop it even better. So
Mm.
all of that, when we talk about trust, I'm coming back to that purpose or identity shift. If you
Mm.
believe in your product and your business, you believe in how you're serving your clients, what you're doing in the community as a way of your product in the community. If you believe in your greater charge, yes, is the service of your clients, but through your team and how you're developing your people, then you have to move into a higher level of trusting your leadership voice, your why, your value, and how you influence and inspire other people. And you don't do it less than you are as an individual in your life. And we can dig into that if you want.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. I think the trust side is always a big thing for a lot of business owners. I think people just in general as well. And every time that people level up in their business, there's a new level of trust. There's a new. I always can. The analogy I always like is it's a game, and each level that you pass, you've got new challenges and new things, and the person you became in the first level, to pass that one, you have to learn new things to be able to pass the next thing. And every level requires new levels of trust and what you do. So that's amazing. That's really, really good. Are there any key things that you found, that just one or two little tips, that help to just start on that journey for anyone that may be kind of feeling a little bit of that doubt or insecurity or lack of trust in themselves and their decision making? Again, whether they're new or established, sometimes even people that are really established, just taking that next step in their business, they feel that insecurity again or trusting their gut around things.
I love the way you frame that. Um, that, as you're probably familiar with, is your comfort zone. So when you're
Mm,
feeling that space of insecure, doubt, even stalled, or putting the barriers up of why maybe you shouldn't move forward or not, that's your comfort zone. And my logo, has the, I know the listeners can't see it in this format, but it has a spectrum basically of energy coming out around of it, and then a graphic of an individual reaching through that spectrum. So if we're lucky, like you said, that we find levels of our comfort zone throughout our life, and each time we come against it, we then have to make that decision, make a decision, decide if we're going to challenge it, if we're going to grow beyond, take necessary risks to stretch out again into our next level of what I call our power zone. And each time we do that, we free ourselves up of those limiting beliefs, of those behaviors and habits, and we release even a larger vision for ourselves that we couldn't in this certain level. And so when I speak to profitability, as what we do for our leaders is to as develop these business owners and executives into profitable leaders so they can create, their business at that level, but also live their best life. Then in turn, we are develop them as an individual. So as a leader, very often our ego comes in, and that's a sure sign that our comfort zone is present, where we feel like we have to be all. We have to be the Oz behind the curtain, basically, in the business, and we can't be for our individual we serve, we love, we take care of, that we can't be vulnerable. But that's a fallacy. So I would say one of the number one things is to identify the myths that actually are behind the scenes, subconsciously, quietly draining you as a leader, is to understand what those beliefs, those myths are. Because when you can then identify them, then you're aware, you can take responsibility for them. And I find that very often that mask of confidence gets over your face, and you act like you're doing okay, you're doing all right, but you're exhausted. You might even think you're going to die at your desk in your business, or you're going to go home and you're going to take it out on your family, or you're just going to smash yourself on the couch, whatever it is. So one of the key things you can do in your business is to learn to be authentic. Authenticity is the number one quality in leadership, because that's the way you're going to transform yourself, transform your team, and transform your business.
Yeah.
Profitability is a byproduct of your leadership. Well, we
Mm.
focus on that, and we can double and triple businesses usually in 1 year, all kinds. The leader's growth is what we're working on in order to fuel that transformation. So if you're
Yeah.
not going to be vulnerable with yourself, you very much cannot be vulnerable with your team and teach them it's safe to grow alongside you. A lot of leaders feel like that emperor with no clothes. I have to do this. I have to act like this. But you know what? They know it already. When you
Mm.
meet somebody and you can feel their vibration first, and it tells you who they are. They might
Yeah.
say they're this and that, especially if they're selling a product, but you're like on the outside, they don't exhibit that. Well, your
Yeah.
employees, your customers feel the same way. So they're already feeling it, expending this energy. Instead of peddling, trying to keep the mask on and fearful what they're going to see, then teach them to grow alongside you. Listen, this isn't working for us. I'm going to tell you, I see it too. Let's get together. Let's put our brains together. I'll bring my wisdom,
Mm.
knowledge, you bring yours, and we're going to build a trust in ourselves to grow in whatever direction we decide. So that
Yeah.
transformation, right? Being authentic, being okay to be vulnerable. That vulnerable invites permission to become empowered as leaders, as a
Yeah.
team, no matter their title. So that's a huge area. So we teach our clients, one of our first things we do is identify what their leadership why is, and then break that backwards into, well, then what are your power zone leaks? What are
Yeah.
the areas in your life and business that are draining your power? And it's beliefs, habits, systems, communication, whatever it is. So be authentic, be real with yourself, and
Yeah.
don't tackle them all at once. It can get overwhelming. When you start with one, automatically you shift your energy. That comfort zone gets lighter. You start to stretch out. And anything you learned in this stage, you can take and accelerate and do what I call your time leap. And you can
Mm.
grow exponentially once you start to stretch and you start to move forward, no matter the challenge. So that's
Yeah.
a short
Amazing.
version.
No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, we're almost up on time already. I can't believe it's gone so fast. But just very quickly, if you were to sum up in like 30 seconds, what are your goals in your business you'd like to achieve over the next 5 years?
I want to help develop more profitable leaders so that they can be impactful in their business and in their communities and service and growing and helping. I believe it spreads exponentially when we have more leaders, and we need more of that around the world, actually, service leaders, and then in their lives to develop the people that they influence most. So I want to continue leading with purpose, keep showing up, keep adapting, and help others actually feel so confident. In essence, have more of our clients will say very often, Jason, I wish I would have found you 10 years ago. And to
Yeah.
discover what that means, got to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is the best way? Is there a website that people can find you on?
Absolutely. So if you go to powerzonecoach.com, all of our information is there, including our social media platforms.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Rene. I appreciate that. And as a reminder, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. It's Jason A. Osborn on LinkedIn.